This is the Budget Basher race drone that had one little crash, and it has damaged an ESC and my flight controller. So we're going to be replacing the flight controller and the ESC. I probably won't be able to get to the ESC in this video, but we'll try to at least get the flight controller out of here and take all these wires and everything off. And we're going to do some revamping. We're going to change out some parts, add some 3D printed parts, do a modification on this guy. She's been sitting on the bench for far too long now. Hey, welcome in the room. What's going on? That is Fabrice. Hey, how you doing, Fabrice? We're going to be doing a little bit of repair here live on my Budget Basher race drone. We're going to be changing the all-in-one ESC board, or I'm sorry, all-in-one flight controller here, and doing a couple little revamps. I got some 3D printed parts. We're going to be doing some changing up. So first things first, let's go ahead and get these props off of here. Hope you guys are having a awesome Friday. We got snow here, so I figured, you know what, this is the perfect day to work on this, get this Budget Basher race drone back up and running. I will try to keep up with chat the best I can while I'm working here. I'm going to be kind of multitasking, but feel free to chat amongst yourselves as well. Make sure you show each other support. And yeah, we're going to see if we can't get this done at going live. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. Just hasn't been able to come to fruition, but today is that day. So hopefully the stream doesn't... I don't go live a whole lot anymore because my Wi-Fi here in the sticks out in the country is not the greatest. So bear with me, and hopefully the stream is good enough for you to kind of see what's going on. But I'm going to be narrating as I go, so you kind of know what's going on. So taking the props off, first thing, makes it a lot easier to work on this quad with the props removed. And here's another one right here, trying to keep up with the chat there. Yeah, so we got snow here, so not a good fly day, but definitely a good repair day. Going to be doing some soldering and adding some new components on this build. This is the F2 Mito, however you want to say it, frame. Hey, don't ever throw these away because you can kind of break these off, cut these down, and use these to kind of protect your individual ESCs. So don't ever throw those away. You can always use it for something. I rarely ever throw anything away in this hobby. I've just learned just to kind of save everything as we go along. You never know when you might need a part or a component. Next thing we need to do is go ahead and take off these standoffs. So these are just little nylon little standoffs that hold the flight controller on the board, on the frame here, and we're going to just go ahead and remove these. That's going to make it easier to get to with our soldering iron. Basically what happened was I had a small crash and the ESC got prop struck, and when it got prop struck, it definitely damaged it, knocked off a couple of FETs, MOSFETs, and a couple of little capacitors that were on the ESC. You can see right here the damage. This is the one that got damaged. And it cooked the ESC, and for some reason, even when I disconnected this ESC and went to power it up, the other ESCs would not power up. So, very strange. I don't know why. The flight controller just decided to take a crap on me. But this is the Holybro Kakute F4 all-in-one. Hey, welcome whoever's back in. And I went ahead and got the Joshua Bardwell F4 all-in-one to replace it. So that's the board we're going to use to replace this guy. I'm kind of excited about it. But yeah, I'm going to take off all these standoffs, every single one, just to make this a lot easier to solder when you don't have all these parts in your way. Basically, we have to take off every wire that I soldered on here, the low ESR capacitor, the positive and negative of the XT60. We're going to remove all that. So definitely got my work cut out for me. The name of the game in this particular scenario is going to be to remove all the wires without damaging the wires, because we're going to have to reuse these wires. So that's what we're going to do. The board, I don't care about the board. The board's toast, so it doesn't matter if we damage the board. So, soldering iron, and I'm going to do medium-high heat. I'm using the a Yowie, a YU, whatever you want to say it. Soldering iron is a soldering station, actually. And we'll start out with the semi-fine point tip. That should be able to do most of the connections. And then, if we need, I've also got a couple finer point tips if need be. So we'll let that warm up for a second while we get ready to start desoldering all these wires and get this board off. So hopefully the live stream is good enough. I can't see when I look on my phone, it looks great to me, but I know traditionally when it's streaming, it doesn't have as good a quality as what I'm seeing. But either way, hopefully this stream will work out. I've been wanting to do this for a while, like I said. I got the one standoff that we're going to have to get some pliers. Oh, maybe not. Yep, I got her. I put the bear grip on her. Get that standoff off there. Standoff off. Check that out. So, yeah, East. These I don't need because I have another ESC to replace this with all fresh wires. So we'll be taking all this stuff off and putting the new board on. I'm going to pre-tin all the pads that we're going to use on the Joshua Bardwell board. And I got our soldering iron. Should be hot enough. So go ahead and start removing wires now. So what you want to do is it's probably easier to untwist the wires. I had them nice and twisted, but it's actually easier to untwist them. That way, when you untwist, you can actually get at the individual wires here. So first, we'll start out with the receiver, and we're just going to touch this solder. And once it's hot enough, the wire should pull right off. So soldering iron is still warming up, so get that to warm up there. Get my soldering station powered up. All right, somebody else back in the room. Welcome. Hopefully the stream's okay. We're going to be doing some desoldering and some soldering on this guy and try to get this thing back to life. What a mess, right? It is quite a mess. Definitely needed some extra love and attention. Okay, make sure my soldering iron has power. Go ahead and turn the switch. So, how's the weather where you guys are? Hopefully better than it is here. Here is really quite awful, actually. Here we have snow. Huh, that's really odd. For some reason, my soldering station is not powering on right now. So I'm wondering if this receptacle here, let me unplug the light here and swap these guys out and see what we have. See what we got. Okay, there we go. For some reason it wasn't working in that receptacle. Now we're cooking. Now we got the soldering iron on and it's warming up. So we'll let that warm up for a second. And I'll explain kind of some of the modifications we're going to be doing. So this frame has the side mount to hold the cameras, these little carbon fiber plates. We're going to be doing away with those and using some 3D printed pieces here I got from Race Day Quads to mount the camera. And I'm hoping it'll fit because this is actually a full-size camera. I should have got a smaller one for this build, but that's what I ended up getting anyway. And so that we're going to change that around. And I'm going to be removing all of these standoffs for the top plate. We're going to be taking these off and installing a little bit taller ones right here. I got these knurled blue standoffs. So they're just a little bit higher than these to give us just a little bit more room in this build, because this is a very, very tight build. This was one of the most difficult builds I've ever done. And I wanted to give myself just a little bit more room inside the stack there. So, all right, now our soldering iron is getting nice and hot here. So now we can go ahead and start desoldering. So we'll start out with the receiver wires right here. So first we got the ground. You can see that, okay? And we're just going to watch out for this low ESR cap, because we're going to reuse that. Just need to add a little bit of heat here to the solder pad. And it's still quite not hot enough. Let it warm up some more. You want about medium-high heat to remove some of these wires. Once we get to the XT60 and the low ESR capacitor, we're definitely going to need a real... Those solder pads are a lot larger. They're going to suck up a lot more heat. So with these small ones, once the soldering iron gets nice and warmed up, should be fine. So let's go ahead and see if we can't remove that guy right there. Not quite yet. Still warming up. She was cold. She was outside in the garage. And we're at like in the teens right now with snow. So very, very cold. Soldering tip was quite cold. So, but I guess there's not a lot of people on YouTube today for some reason. Not anybody stopping in. Maybe they'll come on after the notifications get sent out. I know they take a little bit of time sometimes with the notifications, with the YouTube and everything. So, like I said, I'll try to pay attention to chat the best I can. I might not be able to answer every question because I'm going to be kind of preoccupied working on this. But I wanted to do this live. There we go. It's getting warm enough now, so it's... Sorry about that. Got a phone call. I want to do this live. There we go. Now we're getting hot enough to finally melt these little solder joints. Next is the yellow wire, the S-bus wire. Let's go ahead and remove this red power wire first. Yeah, go ahead and remove that. And then we'll do the S-bus wire. This is for the FR Sky RXSR. And then here's our telemetry wire here for our smart port. See, once it gets heated up, it's really quite easy. It comes right off, and then we can just go ahead and resolder this on to our new board. So put that off to the side. That part's done. Now we'll jump over to the VTX part here. Got our TBS Unify Pro HV. We're going to go ahead and untwist. I must say I haven't been looking forward to doing this. I would much rather build from scratch versus doing repairs. Repairs can be kind of tedious when it comes to doing that kind of stuff. So let's see if we can get this out of here. Go ahead and remove this wire right here. And I'll say this Holybro Kakute is a very, very tight board. They don't give you a lot of room at all, really, to work. So you really need to have your soldering game on point to work with that. All right, so there's the ground wire there. Now we just need to remove the yellow wire here. Just removing that. Welcome in the room. I'm not able to pay attention to chat as much as normal, so apologize for that. Oh, we got two people. Here's everybody. What's going on, man? So I'm actually not building right now. Don't forget to talk to us. I know. I'm trying, buddy. I'm actually straddling the camera, so I'm trying to kind of get everything in shot. But what up? This is the Budget Basher race drone that I built, and what we're doing is we're doing a repair. So the flight controller all-in-one is completely shot for whatever reason. I had a little tiny crash, and it's done. So I said, well, you know what? If it's not even gonna last for one little crash, there we go. We got that off. There's the VTX and the camera. Boom, all in one shot. Got that removed. So yeah, what we're doing is we're going to be replacing this whole flight controller the Holybro Kakute F4 all-in-one, and we're going to be swapping over to the JB F4 all-in-one V2, baby, V2. So excited about that. But this has been on my bench for a while now, and I just need to get it done. But I want to do it live. I wanted to get like an interactive live. No sound? Really? Oh, no. Hold on a second. Why don't we have any sound? Oh, no. No sound. Huh. It says mute microphone. Can you hear me now? Hello. Man, I hope my audio hasn't been like that the whole time. I've been streaming for 16 minutes. How about now, guys? Can you hear me now? Dan, still got your digits? Everyone, yes, props off. You got it, man. Props off. All right, Dan, something's wrong with your device because RDFPV says sounds good. Blizzard says he's good. So should okay, yep, Blizzard good. Okay. So Dan, there must be something wrong with your device, brother. See if you can't chime in. But anyway, so yeah, what happened was I had a small little crash, guys. I don't know if you remember that video or not, but basically I just kind of was trying to do like a split S through a couple of trees in my yard, and I ended up bailing. Dan's headphones are broke. Yeah, come on, Dan. Do we need to do like a donation fund me for Dan's new earphones? Let's do that, guys. Let's go ahead. Send it down to Dan. Daniel Sampson. Dan's hungry. Dan's hungry. Got to eat at Gmail. Go ahead and send him some donations for those headphones. Anyway, so yeah, I ended up bailing on the trick, and this quad literally hit like a little branch. It wasn't even fast. Hit a little branch and flipped upside down, crashed in the field. Yay, got audio. Sweet. Crashed in the field and prop struck the ESC, took off some of these MOSFETs and a couple capacitors, totally toasted my ESC. Huh? What's that, bud? Oh, no, there's no battery power. I'm not plugged in. There's no battery power. No, we're not plugged in, man. No battery. I'm not even plugged in with my VTX. See? Nothing's plugged in. There's no battery power, nothing. We're literally just desoldering everything. Okay? Nothing's plugged in. It told a drone if it tries to cut me. Yeah, and sometimes it's hard, guys. And when you're in a hurry, sometimes, you kind of just, I don't want to take the props off, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Nobody wants to get prop struck because that'll definitely ruin your day real quick. So, would you argue with me? Like I said, I see both sides of the coin there. So what I'm going to do is these ESC wires here from this one that was toast, we're just going to leave those on there because I'm not going to be reusing those wires. So let's go ahead and move over here to this ESC. But I tell you, man, this board, this Holybro Kakute, I'm really not impressed with this particular board. Just from, one little crash and the daggone thing is shot. I mean, that just doesn't really speak to the longevity of this board for me. It was a very, very little crash. And see, we're going to have to crank up the heat a little bit. See how it's kind of looking like that little liquid blob? Because this is a way bigger solder joint. See that? And I don't care about the board. The board's toast. But, yeah. So these bigger solder joints, you need to crank that heat up to get the wires back off. So we'll redo all these ESC wires that we're going to redo. Let's go ahead and see if we can pull this ground off of here, get this guy heated up. But yeah, I definitely know what you're saying, man. Sometimes it's just difficult when you're in a hurry, you don't have a lot of time on your hands. Go ahead and pull this ground off here. And sometimes it is, man. It's hard to just go ahead and take them props off, if you don't really have the time. See this wire here? It's got a lot of mass and a lot of solder, so it takes a lot more to get that off, a lot more heat. So, but yeah, we're just gonna pull all these wires off, and we're gonna just do away with this board because as of now, this board is junk. I don't even care if I get solder on the board. The only thing I'm trying to save is the wires for the ESCs. So yeah, there we go. Boom. There's one ESC done. Actually, two, because the other one's been cut. I highly recommend not using a sponge. You get one of these guys. They're fairly inexpensive, and they work great. And I'm years behind, but I fly, bro. There you go. That's good, man. Dan, you've been running Butterflight? You've been going. You seem to have some wacky things going on. Okay, yeah, man. I tried Butterflight for a little while. It actually worked good for me at the time, but then I ended up going back to Betaflight, and I haven't switched back. To be honest with you, I think Betaflight flies once you get your rates set up good, just as good, if not better, than Butterflight from my experiences. All right, so this one here got a lot going on here. So this is the buzzer we got wrapped up in here. See if we can go ahead and remove this buzzer. This is one of those buzzers where it's got the built-in LiPo. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this, and that way I can get these wires out of my way, so I can get at this other ESC over here. But yeah, this build here was very difficult. This was probably one of the hardest builds that I've ever done, to be honest, perfectly honest with you. The soldering pads on this thing are so small, easy to bridge, if you know what bridging is. I don't understand what, because it allowed me to turn on dynamic filtering. Yeah, I really do like the Betaflight, man. I haven't had no worries with the Betaflight. So, but yeah, it's personal preference. I think the Pro, there we go. We got that buzzer desoldered there. The part about going to the Butterflight really depends on if you're using like the hardware, like the specialized hardware for Butterflight. They got like a special flight controller. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but put it down in the comments in the chat if you know. But there is a certain flight controller that is specifically designed to work with Butterflight. Even the PIDs and everything are just kind of geared towards that. So just keep that in mind. Real quick, guys, how does the live stream look? Does the video look okay? How's the audio? Just I was really kind of worried about that because I don't have like the. So let me see what you guys are saying here. Waiting on some feedback for that. Probably a little bit of delay. But yeah, let me know what the live stream looks like. Let me know if it actually looks halfway decent. Because my Wi-Fi is not the greatest. So let me know what you guys think. Just moving these ESC wires out of the way. I'm hoping these wires are long enough to reach the new board. They should be, because I definitely gave myself some slack. So should be long enough. But yeah, you see how these big wires, they just take a lot more heat. I got this sucker cranked up to 6. It goes up to 8 at the highest. Looks like I need to wash behind my ears. Yeah, definitely, man. I always want to wash behind the ears, because if you don't wash behind the ears, man, you can get some funky smells, right? Yes. So, you see that little daggone power wire came right back and soldered itself right back to that board. All right, so now we're getting to the last ESC on this side. I did like the ability to adjust Betaflight in the field. Yes, yeah, the Speedy Bee is really nice. It's a really nice app too. My Wizard has that. So, how does my stream look, guys? Does it look okay? How's the video quality and the sound look? Does it look okay? Is it terrible? Let me know what you got. So now we're getting here at the back. I probably can remove these wires without. You know what we're going to go ahead and do? We're going to go ahead and remove this last standoff just to make it easier. Go ahead and remove this standoff, get that out of the way, and that's going to give us better access to these wires here. See right back in here. Got the last ESC signal wires and power. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to take off this standoff as well. So let me go ahead and remove this. But I will say, it looks like I need to wash behind my ears. All right, you have to tell me what that means, man. I'm guessing it looks like crap. I don't know. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this standoff. I will say on the F2 Mito, this frame, it actually the hardware is really nice for a budget frame. The hardware it comes with is really nice. That just gets that whole little cluster right out of the way. It means I need a better camera. Oh yeah, I do need a better camera. Let me try something real quick. Boom. How's that? Any better? I don't think I cleaned my lens. There you go. Yeah, believe it or not, man, this is just my phone, man. I just use my phone, and yeah, it's been good to me for the most part. So keep track of your hardware too. Go ahead and clean this off. And now we are ready to get at this last ESC here. And we're going to be doing a little bit of modifying on this as well. We're going to be changing out these standoffs. I'm not going to be using these standoffs. I got some taller ones over here from Race Day Quads. Give us a little bit more room in the build. Check out that blue. Oh, yeah. Perfect match. And we're also going to be installing some 3D printed camera mountings. That's going to do away with this. I hate these side plates. I just do. It's just a tight fit, and the adjustability is very limited. I don't like these side plates, and it leaves the fact that your build. Oh, there we go. Your height in your stack, it has to be as tall as these side plates in order to work. I don't like that. I don't like the restrictiveness of it, okay? I don't like to be restricted when I have a build. I like to be able to do what I feel is best for me. So, I'm going off at the jaws now. Sorry, I get sidetracked. But yeah, we're just going to pull off these last wires and get this power wire out of the way. But man, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but if you can see like how tight this board is, how small these pads are. I mean, it's just really difficult to work with. I must say, I think this is one of the hardest builds that I've ever personally done. There's just not a lot of room. I must have bridged, oh, I don't know, almost every single one of these small wires, and I had to get like a magnifying glass and look at it real close up, to see if I had bridged it with the solder. When the solder touches more than one pad, that's what a bridge is. Just in case don't know that. Get my light here. Get a little bit more light for you. How's that? A little bit more light. But yeah, I mean, that's, I think this Joshua Bardwell board looks like it's got a lot better layout, and it looks like it's a lot easier to solder. So we'll be taking a look at that. Cross polarization. Yeah, exactly. So Dan, I saw your live. I watched a little of it back when I had a chance, and I sent you a link in that video in the not description, but in the comment section for the Race Day Quads low ESR capacitors. Dude, I got one on my TBS Source 1. And I'm telling you, man, I have like no noise. Like, I don't mean like a little bit of noise. I mean like no noise. There's like no noise whatsoever. Here, we got to crank this heat up really high now. Normally, I would change the tip to do a big solder joint like this. But I'm going to try to see if I can get it with this tip right here, because this tip's kind of like good for just about everything. But yeah, now we're just trying to get this wire off this low ESR capacitor. This is just a little small one that actually came with my, there we go, we got it up. I'm making a big mess. Look at all this solder. Jeez. This actually came with my, and I was like, you know what, let me try this. Oh, we got some solder burn off on there. Yeah, I clean my tip like a lot. I clean my tip very often. But this low ESR capacitor actually came from, came with my RunCam splits, I believe. It's just a small little 330 microfarad, but it actually works. It actually gives me a little bit of a noise reduction in this particular build. This isn't a really noisy build, or at least it wasn't. So we got 5 people in the room. And so does Chris, MD95 TSI. He uses the Joshua Bardwell, and he actually likes it a lot. Remember, it's a $99 build. Pretty certain it's going to go back. Yeah. I mean, you're going to have that. I mean, you're going to have some noise. But I guarantee you one thing. If you put 1,000 microfarad low ESR capacitor right on the positive and the negative of that Tyro, I guarantee you will notice a difference in your noise. It might not completely take it away, but it will make a huge difference. Also, a lot of things people don't know also is use the same ground for your VTX that you do for your camera. So if you can, run those grounds together on the same ground pad. And a lot of times that'll help out too with noise, just in case you guys didn't know that. Mine has a 450. Yeah, but when you go to 1,000, you're doubling. I mean, you're doubling the capacity. I would try it because they're like $2 shipped. I would just try it. You know what I mean? I mean, what do you got to lose? You know, you already got the noise, so I would definitely give it a try. There, man. Those 1,000 microfarads are a lot bigger than the smaller ones. But yeah, yeah, this is gonna take a lot of heat here. I'm gonna crank this baby all the way up. We're gonna have to crank this soldering joint all the way up and just get to the core. I'm actually gonna use my hand to pull this off. This is gonna take, see that? It's just taking all the heat right out of my soldering iron. Boom, we got her though. Look at that. Whew, that wire is hot too, buddy. You have 5 capacitors. There you go. See, I'm telling you, man, you can never have enough capacitors. Is it just me or does FPV? Yeah. FPV is crazy, bro. Hey, all I gotta say is if it wasn't for credit cards, man, I'd be in trouble. I don't even think I would have what I have right now if it wasn't for credit cards, bro. I put everything on credit cards, and I shouldn't. I really shouldn't. But sometimes I got that like need it now mentality, and I'm just like, no, 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 I gotta get it now. I gotta get it now. I just bought another GoPro Session 4 for $79. Okay, it's a refurbished one, but it comes with a 16 gigabyte micro SD card. It comes with the charge cable, which didn't work, so I scrapped that. Come with a little mount, so you can like mount to like a head cam or whatever. It come with like 2 little helmet mounts. I think it came with something else, but no, that might have been it. But for $79, man, that's a steal. So now I've got 2 GoPro Session 4s, like I have a backup in case one of them, breaks or whatever. I'll have a backup now. Plus, with them being discontinued, you might as well get your hands on them while you can, while they're still actually available and around. Hey, thanks so much, Paulie. I appreciate that, man. All right, so we got the XT60 removed. That was probably the hardest solder joint to remove. And now we can take this board right here. I say about this Holy Bro Kakute F4 all-in-one. Throw that thing in the trash, man. I'm telling you, man, I'm really disappointed. I mean, one crash, and this board was toast. I really don't get it. But look at the soldering joints. Let me see if I can get this on you. Yeah, this thing sucks. But look, yeah, if you're going to get an FPV, Dan, my best recommendation, let me try to get you guys centered a little bit better here. Get you guys centered for you. Yeah. If you look at this board right here, I mean, it looks like crap right now because I just literally just destroyed it trying to get all these wires off. But I didn't care because the board's toast. But look how small, okay? If you look at this board, look how intricate and small these pads are. Like, even right here where the ESCs are, I mean, it's so easy to bridge these. So easy. So yeah, this board is toast. So it's going to be going in the dumpster, in the fire pit, wherever it's done. So got that done. Now, as you can see, I actually soft mounted that board, even though this board has the soft mounted gyro, I still soft mounted it on the build. So we're going to be doing the same thing with the Joshua Bardwell board, but I'm pretty sure the saddle has a keychain. Yeah, that's a good idea, man. You know what? That'd be kind of cool. You could just put like your little key ring on one of these little ESC things, and boom, look at that. Somebody probably buy it. Just say it's from edrone channel. You never know. Anyway, yeah, that's a good idea. So I'm gonna get a drink of water real quick. I'll be talking in the background. Sometimes talking all the time, it makes you thirsty. Makes you thirsty, man. Let me get a swig of water real quick. But I'm happy you guys are in here, man. It's kind of like I have you guys along for the ride, so that's really cool. Yeah, but if you're gonna get into FPV, my best suggestion is, yeah, get spare parts. Have lots of spare parts. Spare antennas, spare hardware, just spare everything, really. Because you never know. I mean, one crash, boom, you might be down for a couple months if you don't have all your stuff. Yeah, lots of props. Lots of props. So, I'm going to show you guys why this is the best day to work on this real quick, okay? I'm going to take you for a ride. Whoosh, look at that, boom, worked you. This is the weather right now in my current situation. We got snow out here, and it sucks. So, yeah. I mean, it looks good and all, but definitely ain't flying in it. So I figured, you know what? Let me go ahead and do this build real quick. So, yeah, that's what we got going on right now. Dan, I wish I was down in Florida with you, brother. I wish I was down in Florida. I'm sure the weather down there is way better than this. But you know what? The snow, you do get some nice shots with your FPV. You know what I mean? You get some nice shots when it's not snowing. All right, so what's next? We have the board removed. It probably now would be the best thing to do is just go ahead and remove this this toasted ESC. Yeah, right? Looks like a nice day for a blizzard. But while we have the board off here, this is probably the best. Let me go ahead and remove this battery strap. That'll help us out too. Got some solder on there. Turn down my soldering iron before I toast my tip. Definitely don't want to do that. Pull this battery strap off. Yeah, you leave Hawaii, man. Blizzard Ox, I'm jealous for sure. I would love to be in Hawaii. All right, so we're doing away with this antenna mounting system as well. You see how this is coming off the arm? It works and all, but look, this is the downside. If you have a toasted ESC, you know, because of the way I zip tied it, you're going to have to cut that zip tie off every single time and re-zip tie it. So that was kind of annoying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install these standoffs. And I actually bought some 3D printed mounts here from Race Day Quads. And we're going to run the antenna straws right out the back. So they're going to mount right off the back here. And we'll have the antennas shooting straight out the back, out of the prop line, out of the way, and you don't have to worry about them getting chopped up with the props. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing with that. So yeah, like I said, now is probably the best time to go ahead and remove this ESC. I did a good job taping that up too. I'm gonna have to go get my knife. Let me see if I can get it without my knife first. I'm gonna leave you guys hanging. Oh, I think I can get it. Okay, yeah, we got some tape. We can pull. Oh my gosh, I'm shaking you guys all around. What's going on, man? I'm leaving. Shaking you guys all around. So yeah, we're gonna pull all this tape off, and then we're gonna desolder these 3 wires. This part's really quite simple, honestly. Just to desolder this. I pull off the wrong one. I sure as heck did. I'll just have to retape that one. This is the one we need. This is the shot ESC. See, this is the one that the MOSFETs got chopped up. And what I'm using is the Hack RC BL Heli 32 LED ESCs. And before it got prop struck, it was actually a really nice ESC, and it performed really nice. And they're really cheap. They're like $9 a piece, I think. You might even be able to buy like 4 for like $38 or something, like in a bundle pack. But of course, I got them from Bang Good, which took forever. Man, we've been streaming for 38 minutes, guys, and I feel like I've gotten not a lot done, so that's my own fault. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get this tape pulled off here from this toasted ESC. And what I did was that when I built this quad, I only had the ESCs that you see on it. So when I toasted this ESC, I mean, this build was down. I mean, she was done. So I had to order some more ESCs. So what I did was I ordered like 3 more, so that if I ever have this situation again, I don't have to wait, you know, a month or whatever. This thing, man, this thing is absolute freaking powerhouse. Like, it's just so lightweight that when you hammer the throttle, it's just gone, man. It's so lightweight, it flies a lot differently than my freestyle builds. This one I designed strictly for like racing on tracks and stuff, because I wanted to get into that as well as the freestyle. Although I haven't been doing racing hardly much at all here recently. I've just been doing freestyle, but I kind of wanted to get into all aspects of FPV. Racing, freestyle, camera drones, pretty much everything. So I don't know if my chat's frozen or you guys are just getting tired of talking. But I'm periodically checking my chat just to make sure I'm keeping up with you guys. All right, so this is the toasted ESC. So all we need to do is desolder these 3 wires. So let me turn my heat back up. And what I like to do is I like to keep my soldering iron on like a low heat, as I'm not going to be directly using it, kind of keep it warmed up. And then as I need it, just kind of heat it up as I need the. Oh, look at all this splatter. So this is why I'm using the white side of my mat. So this is actually a 2-color mat. So it has the white side, and on the back side it has a gray side. Well, if you ever notice on my videos, I always use the white side when I do like builds and soldering and such, because this side just takes a ton of abuse. And I always use the gray side on the other side for like presenting things and doing like close-up reviews and stuff, because the mat looks a lot better. Like, look at all this solder spill I got on here. Look at all that. And I don't care, because this is the work side that I use. But yeah, these mats are really, really nice for saving your tables and stuff. So let me see here. Leave back to Hawaii. I'm still streaming, right? Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's taking a while for my my thing to catch up. All right, cool. So, boom, there we go. ESC damaged has been removed. So that one is toast as well. So we got some trash components here. So now what I want to do is now we're going to go ahead and remove these last 2 standoffs, and see they're actually knurled. They call them or not knurled. That's not the word. They're like flared, like flange type. So you can't put any 3D printed parts on here because it's just too big. The diameter is just too big. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these 2 screws on the bottom, and then we're going to put in our new ones once we get the board installed, new ESC soldered up, and then we're going to have to solder on all these wires, get that all done. I'm probably going to do all this, all the rest of it, either in another live or off camera, just because I've already been streaming for almost 45 minutes. But basically now what needs to happen is we need to solder on here, get that soldered up, and then we're going to go ahead and put the board on here. I'll go do a little bit of pre-tinning on this one. We'll get the JB board, take a look at it real quick. But it's always good to kind of pre-tin this outside of the build versus while it's on the build. It's a lot more difficult. So what we'll do is open this bad boy up. Ooh, they actually give you mounts here to go with this JB board. Although, like I said, I'm pretty sure this board comes with the MPU 6000 gyro, which, as far as I know, is less susceptible to noise and vibrations. So let's take a look at this board. Definitely has a way smaller profile than that Holybro Kakute. Look at that right there. Looks really nice, actually. I love the layouts. I love the size of the pads. Very, very nice looking board there. And here's the underneath. You can see right here we have the STM32F405 chip, processing chip. And trying to see if I can see. Yeah, there's a little signature. Joshua Bardwell. Very nice looking board, though. Check that out. Very nice looking board. Looks really good. Race Day Quad. There you. Yeah, there it is. Right there in the center. You can barely see it. There's the MPU 6000 gyro. Very, very small. Right there in the center. But yeah, this is the MP was susceptible to noise and vibrations. So I can only run at 8K and 8K, but you know what? 8K and 8K is good enough, to be honest with you. I haven't really noticed much of a difference going from 8K to like 32K sampling and stuff. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get this guy pre-tinned. What I'm probably going to do is just go ahead and tin the ESC pads here, and excuse me, we'll go ahead and pre-tin the battery pads. Go ahead and tin those up. So the battery pads on this particular board are on the bottom. Battery pads, and then of course we have our 4 ESC pads. So let's go ahead and pre-tin all those up. So go ahead and get our solder. This is a solder I use, and I highly recommend it. Especially if you're not like a really good solder, check out this SRA soldering. This is the clean core. This is the 6337 blend. So yeah, we have the 6337 blend clean core. This does have the flux core, so it has the flux built into the solder. So I actually don't even use like flux or anything, and I'd recommend using flux if you're not really confident in your soldering skills. But I've been doing enough now to where I'm pretty confident using just this solder alone. So let's go ahead and do our positive and negative pad first. And what I like to do is go ahead and since we're going to be soldering now, we're going to go ahead and tin our tip. But don't tin the tip over top of your board because solder can splash. Solder can kind of splash on there, and you don't want to have that solder splash on your board. So we're doing a medium-high heat. Let's crank it up just a little bit more since these pads are a little bit big. And we'll go ahead and get this guy soldered up here. So I'm going to get right up in here so I can see what I'm doing. Get right up close. So I like to hold the soldering tip on the pad and then kind of bring the solder to the tip there. And sometimes it takes a little bit before the pad heats up enough to actually get the solder to stick and melt to the actual pad. See that? It keeps wanting to go on the tip. So you have to get that heat on there. There we go, a little bit more. You have to get a lot of heat on there to get that solder to flow onto that pad. And we could definitely use some more solder here. There we go. That looks pretty good there. And actually, honestly, I really should have my helping hands. That makes it a lot easier. Let me go grab that real quick. Hopefully you guys will hang in there, but I'm going to grab my helping hands to kind of hold this board so it doesn't move around while I'm trying to solder. Yeah, I'm thinking about we're going to go probably about an hour on the live stream. All right, I'm back, and we have our helping hands. So these helping hands really come in handy. And then a cool little tip you can do is take like some fuel tubing or some plastic. See that, and put them on the ends. That way, it doesn't the clamps don't like hurt your wires and like strip your wires when you're doing stuff like that. Let me get this in shot. So what we'll do is we're going to put this right on the corner of the board like so. You guys can see that or not. Hopefully my live stream's still good because nobody's talked in like a while. So I don't know if you guys got bored or what, but I'm trying to keep it entertaining for you. So let me turn this a little bit and hopefully you can see. Can you see that all right? Kind of. So now we're going to go to the positive pad and just going to go ahead and put a little bit of solder on the tip here, and we're just adding that heat to the pad, and we're trying to get the solder to flow like that onto the pad without sticking to the tip, because you don't want this solder to stick to the tip. You want it to flow on that pad. So we're going to add a little bit more. There we go. See that? Nice shiny and round. That looks pretty good. Probably add a little bit more, honestly, to this particular pad. There we go. Because the XT60s, the wire on these guys, I mean, this is some fat 12 gauge wire. So this is some really thick wire. I like to use the thick wire. But, you know, we're going to be soldering this on there. You see how big the wire is? You see how big that is, right? So that's really going to, you need a lot to get that. And what we're going to do in this particular case with the XT60 is we're going to kind of reflow this solder that's already on here, and just kind of hold the soldering iron to it and just kind of get that solder to reflow. And what else we can do, you see how it's kind of wicking in? That's what you want. You want the solder to wick in the wire. And then what we'll do is we'll add a little bit of fresh solder as well to make sure this is nice and shiny and smooth. That's what you want right there. Yep. So what I like to do is carefully move some of this out of the way here. Carefully hold your soldering, or put your soldering iron down on your table like this, okay? Now what you can do is take your fresh solder, hold the wire on the tip, and then hold the solder on the actual wire, and watch as the wire itself actually melts the solder, and it wicks. It wicks right into the actual wire. There, see that? There it goes. That was a good, you see how that took? So you kind of heat it up, and once the wire is melting the solder itself, that's really what you want. You really want that solder to wick in the wire. Oh yeah, we got nice tinned up wires there, nice and shiny. So go ahead and clean my tip real quick. Okay, good. So now what we need to do is we need to solder the negative to the negative and the positive to the positive right there, okay? So, now I might have to get another low ESR capacitor. These pads are so far apart, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that work. I might be able to make that work. Yeah, I can make that work for the low ESR capacitor. I'm dropping stuff all over the place. But yeah, keep in mind, you know, doing this. Oh, there we go. We got some people back checking in from Michigan. What's going on, Metro Drones? Hawaii tonight. Yes, making tamales. Oh, that's awesome, man. I love tamales. Making some tamales. All right, so what we need to do now, let's go ahead and get our negative wire soldered up. So definitely want to crank up the heat, okay, because what you have is you have this large 12 gauge wire that's going to want to take a lot of the heat. And you have this giant battery pad that's also going to want to take the heat. And what I like to do is I like to hold the wire right over top like this, apply a little bit of pressure, and then we're going to basically hold the soldering tip right on top, and you'll feel the wire push down through the pad. You'll feel it. This needs a little bit more heat, so let's go ahead and add a little bit more heat, get a better flow. Just hold it on there. Okay. Whew! That's getting hot. Hot on the fingers. So that looks pretty good. Probably add a little bit more solder right here. Yeah, add a little bit of fresh solder right there. There we go. See how see how that shine got on there? Now let's take a real close look. Let's take a real close look and see how that adhered to that pad. Okay. So that looks pretty good. It got a nice shiny joint there. Not bad at all. I think we can work with that. And we want to make sure that we're not touching any of the components either with the solder or the wire. Now we have our positive on this side, so we'll go ahead and solder that up. So we go ahead and hold this right here on the corner. Hot tamale, that's what's up, man. You got me hungry, want some lunch. Getting close to the hour mark, so gonna go ahead and get this this positive wire soldered on here. Here, clean this tip off. I'm always cleaning my tip like a lot. I like a clean tip when I solder, for sure. Try to do this left-handed. I'm normally right-handed, but see if I can do it left-handed with this one. Now, if you have like blue tack or something like that, it actually is a little bit easier to work with. Then sometimes these helping hands will move on you. So, but yeah, you see how big these wires are, right? Like these are the real to solder. But yeah, you'll see the solder melt on the wire, and then you'll feel it kind of push down through the pad. Once you feel it go down through the pad, that's when you know you got a nice flow. Oh, that's hot. So that didn't flow like I wanted it to. So let's do that again. Yeah, it's probably better to have some helping hands. Let me go ahead and take, because what's happening is you see how it's kind of it keeps tilting. It keeps tilting. So let me bring this down like that. That should be better. These are probably like the hardest joints to get to flow. They're not the hardest to solder, but they can be really hard to flow, if you know what I mean. Can you see that on camera? Yeah, you can kind of see that. So right now we're just cranking that. Let me get some more heat. This took a lot of heat from my tip. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can get this to flow better. But yeah, these joints take up so much heat, and you gotta get them just right. See, it's still like sucking up all that heat. Excuse me. Yeah. All right, we're starting to get some flow now through the top of the wire, and we're just trying to get this to transfer down to the pad. So, a lot of heat here. Getting there, getting there. Okay, there it goes. There it goes. All right. Look, see, I'm a little nervous about that because it's really close to this little fet right here on the bottom. So I'm gonna heat this back up and kind of pull it down some. There's actually a little component right there. I wonder if I can zoom in. Oh yeah, look at that. Sweet. I can actually zoom in while I'm live. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna try to pull this back some. I'm just not happy with the I'm just not quite happy with the how close that is to that component. Let me try to zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. Try to zoom in here. So, zooming. Oh wow, that's really close. That's probably gonna look like crap. All right, so yeah, you can't really see that. But right over top of this positive pad is actually a little component. So let me try to heat this back up. Yeah, these can be a little bit of a pickle. Even people that have soldered a lot struggle with these giant XT60 wires. They just take so much heat, and they really need a lot of heat to get flowing. And then if it doesn't flow right, it's not going to give you a good joint. But yeah, I got my soldering iron cranked like all the way up, and I'm trying to pull it back just a little bit. See if we can't get it back some. I don't like how close it is to that component, but she's fighting me for sure. It just takes a lot of heat. A lot of heat this guy takes. Let's try to hold it on here a little bit better. Let's try that. And you're gonna have things that happen like this. And the best thing to do is if you feel like in your gut it's not good and you might have an issue, just go ahead and redo it. You know, sometimes it's easier to just pull it back off. You know, than to try to mess something up. So you can see when we remove the wire, we took a lot of solder with it. So what I want to do is I'm going to try to clean up some of the solder on this wire. All right, clean up some of that solder, and we're going to add a little bit more fresh solder to this pad. Now you can see we got a nice flow. All right, that looks pretty good. Add a little bit more. Yeah, we got a nice solder ball right there. If you can see that or not, oh, you can't see it. I keep moving it back out of your way. So now what I need to do is I need to hold this wire back here. A unit right there. I hope I didn't damage that component. I don't think I did. But, and then we need to hold the soldering iron right on top and push this down. You actually hear it when it pushes down through. There we go. I think we got it that time. Yeah, that looks a lot better. And then it's always a good idea if the soldering joint looks a little dull, just add some fresh solder. Add some fresh solder right on top. Whoops. Yeah, just add some fresh solder on top. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. Let's turn down the soldering iron because I got it cranked way up. These big soldering joints. All right, let's take a look at it now. That looks pretty good except for the bottom. See, that looks good on top, but the bottom, you see that there? That's going to create an issue possibly. So we're going to have to try to wipe that clean. But let me zoom back out. Hey, man, thanks so much. Yeah, you make sure you show each other some love, man. Support each other. That's what it's all about, man. It's a great hobby. And I've met some really, really cool people along the way. It's really cool. Yeah, drone nerd to the max, man. I am a drone nerd to the max. All right, so we got our XT60 soldered on now. And we have a little bit of solder overflow right here. So we're going to use what's called the wiping technique, where you take the soldering iron, okay, the tip, since we're already over here. Now this could be a little tricky sometimes because you don't want to put enough heat to desolder the wires that you just did. If you ever don't understand the positive and the negative of a low ESR capacitor, the negative actually has like a little like an eye, like a little negative sign right there. So that's the negative side. The other side with no label is the positive side. So it's going to actually sit on here. There's the negative. It's going to sit here like either like this, which I don't want to mount it like that, so I'm probably going to mount it like this. That way it's kind of like in between these wires, kind of protected. And then we'll either use a zip tie or maybe some electrical tape or maybe even some heat shrink and kind of keep this nice and protected here in between these two wires. So let's go ahead and stick this in between the wires if we can a little bit, like so. Yep, that's going to work. And then we'll have our negative on this side and our positive on this side. So this one you definitely got to add some fresh solder because the wire is like a hard wire. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and stick this in between. Make sure we got enough room to reach. Just like that. And we'll go ahead and solder this bad boy up. So what I like to do, see if we can get it to flow without adding any fresh solder at first. So I'm going to go ahead and hold this on there. Just enough to feel that solder heat up. Okay, so that one went. And then we're going to do the same thing for the positive side. I'm going to go ahead and heat this bad boy up. Get my tweezers here. and then this much will be done anyway. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and heat this up. But now you can see kind of like, you know, how long this stuff really takes. I mean, it takes some time. Now I'm doing it on camera, so that takes even more time. But once you start to feel that solder heat up, then you can go ahead and get that solder to kind of flow. And it's definitely heating up now. So this one we're going to need to add, definitely need to add some fresh solder. So go ahead and try a little bit more. Got the heat cranked all the way up. All the way up, and it's taking everything I'm giving it. See that? It's taking everything I'm giving it. These huge pads and the wires suck up so much heat that you literally have to get the wire hot. You got to get the solder hot, the solder pads hot before it takes. See that? It's just taking a ton of heat to do this. So let's go ahead and hit it again. Heat transfer. That's what we call it. Heat transfer. So even then, it still didn't go down through that solder yet. And of course, now we're heating up. I have this turned all the way up. Now we have the low ESR capacitor that's sucking the heat out of the iron. We have the XT60 12 gauge wire that's sucking the heat out of the iron. And we have, so this is just a lot of metal that's kind of sucking the heat out of this guy. So let me see if we can do it this way. So let's add a little bit of fresh solder here. And then that way. There we go. That flowed a lot better. Add a little bit of fresh solder helped out a lot, and that flowed really nice. Now we're going to do the same thing on the right here. Going to add some fresh solder here. Yep, just like that. And right here on the side. Yep, like that. And then we'll kind of flow it like that. Boom. See how it flowed? Now turn this soldering iron back down. But yeah, that was a good flow right there. Man, this board is hot, so hopefully she can take some heat. But yeah, you see that? Just adding that fresh solder really does help sometimes getting the joints to flow. But so yeah, we got this all done, and like I said, we'll tuck this kind of in between these two wires here, like this, and then we'll either add some heat shrink to keep this protected, or we'll use a zip tie or some electrical tape, and this part's done. So there we go. Now we can go ahead and pre-tin real quick. I'll end it on the pre-tinning. Supported you, RDFPV, subtracted, message retracted. All right. Yeah, the pre-tinning is really quite simple, actually. Medium-high heat for your ESC pads, okay? Medium-high heat. For the actual smaller connection pads, like your video transmitter pads and all those pads, you need like medium low heat for those. They don't take a lot of heat whatsoever. So let's go ahead and do our ESC pads here. So here's our positive. Go ahead and solder this up. What I like to do is, I like to, you can kind of read the writing, you know. You want to make sure you can read the writing that's on the board, because yeah, you definitely want to be able to read the writing, so when you go back and solder up, you know, you get the correct continuity. That looks good right there. Like I said, pre-tinning is really quite simple. Just make sure you have a good solder. That's really the key, man. Just having a good solder, because I've soldered with like really like low grade solder, and it just makes such a big difference when you have good high quality solder to work with, it really makes a big difference with your solder joints. So solder, however you want to say it, it makes a really big difference when you have nice solder. I'll show you this solder again once I get. We're almost done pre-tinning the ESC pads, positive and negatives. See that? You don't need to hold it on there crazy long, just enough to get you some nice, round, shiny soldering joints there. So I'll just take a quick, closer little look just to make sure they look good enough. And I could probably add a little bit more solder there, especially on this one right here. If you can see any of the pad, you might want to add just a little bit more solder, but you don't want to add too much, because then you end up having, you know, stuff flowing where you don't want it to flow and stuff like that. But check that out. I'm pretty happy with the way those pre-tin pads look for the ESCs. So it's going to actually sit on the quad. Here's the quad here. This is the back. This is actually the back side. So I'm going to have my XT60 coming out the back. So it'll sit right on here like so. Just like that. And there you go. There you have it. So there's the board. And we're soft mounted. And look, we actually have enough room for the standoffs. It's very tight though. It's a very, very tight build. So these wires are actually gonna be right in between the two standoffs. But that's gonna be it for today, guys. Woo! Thank you for hanging in there with me. It's wow, we've been live now for an hour and going on 13, 14 minutes. But yeah, I'd love to do this stuff live so you can kind of see how it actually happens without editing and stuff like that. So thank you guys so much for watching. More to come on the channel. Please smash that like button if you can. Looks like I have 0 likes. Oh man, 0 likes. Well, hopefully the stream was good enough for you guys to actually see it, and we'll catch you guys on the next time. Thanks so much.